This program is made possible by the loyal financial support of the friends and partners of Family Policy Institute.
You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world.
Good evening and welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, my guest on the program is Marie Sukers, who is the ACDP MP in Parliament. Marie also serves on the Education Portfolio Committee, Health and Social Development. But for this program, we're going to be talking about the Minister of Basic Education, Anjuma Chekha's presentation to the Education Portfolio Committee on the teenage pregnancy rates in South Africa. So Marie Sukers, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It is my pleasure.
Good. So Marie, you're obviously serving on the Education Portfolio Committee. You were in Parliament when the Minister made that presentation. And I mean, some of the numbers there is horrific. In 5 years, 500,000 teenage girls got pregnant in this country. And over 14,000 of them are in the age group 10 to 14 years old, 10-year-old girls getting pregnant. There is something horribly wrong in our country. So the first question I want to ask you is, what was your initial reaction when the minister was reading out these stats?
I think the first thing for me, the statistics is the story that I witness in my constituencies every day. And so for the minister to bring the statistics, for me, it is not surprising. What it did was present us with a picture that looks at the nation as a whole. And like I said, for me, the heartbreaking reality is for most of us that work on the ground in our communities, especially in our poor communities, and here in the Western Cape, especially where my constituency is, it is the statistics for me is not just a number. It's what I witness every single day. Today, in my constituency office where I'm sitting, we've had 24 women in this room, and some of them are teenage mothers. So for me, it's the reality of what I see every day, and it hurts.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. It's shocking to most South Africans, but did the minister give the reasons for it? Why, in some of the research that they do, social development going out there, what are they saying is the driving force behind what is causing these younger and younger girls to engage in sexual activity and fall pregnant at such young ages?
The minister's drive, Errol, is to present a solution in the form of comprehensive sexuality education. And in presenting the picture, the research that the minister and the department are presenting is research that has been done in 2009. And some of those conditions, of course, has changed dramatically over the last couple of years. So in presenting a solution to Parliament, comprehensive sexuality education in this case, and using the statistics, not just the statistics, but the research, or quoting the research, as was done by Dr. Whittle, who's the head of the department, based on research that was done that is outdated. For us, the department themselves do not know what informs the crises that we're in socially.
Okay, so they don't really have a clue on why so many young girls are getting pregnant in our country. And again, I will repeat, over a 5-year period since 2017, over 500,000 young girls, 14,000 of them being between the ages of 10 and 14. And this group of 500,000 girls is between the ages 10 and 19 that are getting pregnant, many of them in schools, and then cannot return to school to complete their education. And so it is just one crisis and tragedy after another. And you said that the minister said the way they're going to combat this or reduce the teen pregnancy rate in South Africa is comprehensive sexuality education. Now, Marie, and I do, because it's been such a controversial topic in this country. It's been in the media that CSE is no solution for teen pregnancies and early sexual debut because it teaches children sexual rights and not sexual health. It teaches children it is their right, sexual pleasure is their right at any age. It teaches them to experiment with masturbation. It teaches them to experiment with different kinds of sexual relationships. So then how is CSE the solution for the teen pregnancy crisis in South Africa?
Well, according to the minister and the department, it is, and they've been pushing this consistently, as you know. And it is not that the minister does not know, because most of our leaders, I think, in the political sphere, of course, unless you live in a bubble and you've become an elitist to the point that you are totally cut off, we know that it is the disintegration of family. That is the disintegration of families, the breakdown of psychosocial, not psychosocial, but support structures over the lockdown period that really informs this. But in terms of really understanding the behavior that goes behind it and the root causes of that and the impact of other environmental factors and social factors on the psyche of children that lives in very poor conditions mostly. And let me also say that what you see in a poor community doesn't mean it is not prevalent in a wealthy community, right? So what the problem we have is that a solution is being presented without the necessary research to inform that. That is one of the biggest problems that we have, is that comprehensive sexuality education is being presented as a solution. And for years, the department has been pushing this. And since 2000, they've introduced it. But they do not have the research, South African research, that informs how we need to approach the problem.
Yeah, Marie, I've looked at this, working with the UN Family Rights Caucus, Sharon Slayton of Family Watch International, who has the most knowledge on comprehensive sexuality education and how UNESCO is pushing this program worldwide, not just in South Africa. And what she sent me a document that showed that the South African government signed on to CSE in 2013. Now, the minister claims it's been in our curriculum since 2000, but our government only signed on to it in 2013, along with other African governments, a few other African governments. That meeting was arranged by liberal Western European governments like Sweden and the Netherlands and others. And UN agencies were present. There were no opposition parties there, were no parent groups there were no educator representatives there. It was just government and these foreign groups, and they signed on to it in 2013. So what has been running in our education, Dr. Darlene Edwards-Meyer, who has been writing programs for the Department of Education for many, many years, about 25 years now. She says she was involved with education at that time, and that wasn't comprehensive sexuality education. It was some kind of sexuality education, but wasn't CSE. They only introduced CSE in 2013. So, but you raised this question, Marie. You said, and it's a great point you make, if CSE then, or sexual education, was in our part of our curriculum since 2000, and right up until now, 2021, the government has been running CSE in different provinces as pilot programs. Why do we have a pregnancy crisis? We have a pregnancy crisis in the time that government has been piloting CSE. Since 2017, they've been piloting this program over the past 5 years, and we still have a teenage pregnancy crisis. And yet they say CSE is a solution when we both know it is the fuel that pours onto the fire, because already we're beginning to see the consequences of using CSE in our schools. And today we have over 500,000 teenage girls pregnant over the past 5 years.
I'm so glad that you brought it up. What is known in terms of CSE and the approach the government is taking was all the time throughout the engagement with the portfolio committee, even in the engagement with parents and other stakeholders, they presented and said, CSE has been part of the curriculum since 2000. My contention to them in answer, when they presented to us, again, of course, using the crises to now embolden the approach to enforce CSE onto schools, onto parents, and onto children, was to say, you have presented to this committee and saying that it is since 2000. If that be the case, then your curriculum is a monumental failure. And CSE is not the solution, Errol, as you have said. It is a one size fits all approach. It has no consideration for the beliefs of parents and the homes that children come from. It is an enforcement of an ideology on parents and on schools. And I say to the minister, it is an imposition on the rights of parents. It is actually a violation of the rights of parents that is recognized internationally, that parents has the right to decide the education that their children will get.
Absolutely. And, I think the biggest worry with CSE, Marie, is that it is foreign. It is devised by the International Planned Parenthood Federation in the US largest abortion provider, sexual rights groups, LGBT propaganda, all of that is in this program. And it comes from America, and it's imposed on our children. It's got nothing to do with the unique challenges facing children in South Africa. They just, it's a cut and paste thing because UNESCO is giving a lot of money. They're driving the program, controlling the agenda and the narrative. I've been to the meeting, the supposed meeting with religious leaders in January 2020, where the UNESCO and the Department of Basic Education had this meeting to iron out the differences between the religious sector and the department. But they used the entire meeting to attack and to denigrate the church and to pastors that disagreed with CSE. And they mocked and ridiculed pastors in that meeting. So you can see it's arrogance where government says, we'll do what we want to do and we don't care what you have to say. We're going to force this on you anyway because we're the government. And that is typical ANC kind of methodology. Do you agree?
It is absolutely, you've articulated it very well. In fact, it is one of the things that for me personally, on a personal level, it is for me one of the worst things that you can do to an individual. It is to usurp their rights to autonomy and their right to freedom and choice. And what the ANC government has progressively done is they have used the vote. They come to the electorate as Africans, as believers even, and they present themselves as of the electorate until the moment that they sign off on international guidelines and international treaties. There's never been a bigger divide between a government and the policies it pursues and the electorate and the beliefs and the things, the values most important to them. The policies of the ANC government and in the Western Cape of the Democratic Alliance, to some degree in education, and of course at a national degree, we're talking about, for instance, CSE. There is a mile-wide gap between what the ground.
Marie, can I come in there? I agree with you. We want to talk about what the DA government is pushing in the Western Cape, the sexual orientation and gender identity. But we have to go for a break now. So when we come back, we'll pick up this thought. So don't go away. More with Marie Sukers of the ACDP after the break. Welcome back to the program. I'm speaking to Marie Sukers, the ACDP MP in Parliament. She also serves on the Education Portfolio Committee, the Health Portfolio Committee, and also Social Development. So, Marie, welcome back. We've been talking about CSE being imposed on our schooling system. by an ANC government working with UNESCO, a UN agency pushing abortion and LGBT propaganda on our children and calling it a solution for the teen pregnancy crisis when we know it is anything but. So, Marie, we talking about CSE, that it's a foreign devised program. It's not from South Africa. But then also in the Western Cape, we've got the DA government in the Western Cape pushing sexual orientation and gender identity in our schools. And they want this to become law in the schools, where they're going to make sexual orientation and gender identity a special class of student, where it must be protected and other students must agree with it and promote it and all of that. What is the ACDP doing about that?
Absolutely. We vehemently oppose it, strongly oppose it. And we are opposing it because, again, it's an imposition and an enforcement of an ideology on people. And the worst betrayal of the voter is the fact that you ask for the vote, and the vote is an endorsement of sorts of a policy that the ANC government and the DA does it very well, that they will then come and bring that policy to bear. And when you oppose it, the ACDP, it is, I think it was to Furlan Christians that was said in the legislature, the voters voted for us, they didn't vote for you. So your vote becomes an endorsement for the very whip that they use to bring you and your house into alignment to an ideology that goes directly against your beliefs. And that is very important to South Africans.
I'm glad you raised that point, Marie, because, voters, Christians out there don't appear to understand this, that people vote for the ANC and they vote for the DA for whatever reason they're voting for them. And of course, we all have a right to vote for whoever we want to. But if you're a Christian, if you're a Bible-believing Christian, we got to know that one of the most serious warnings was given by Jesus to people, saying, do not harm children. Yes. If you harm or mislead or mistreat a child or lead them in a bad path, it is better that you tie a millstone around your neck and throw yourself into the sea. It's a serious warning. And what CSE does, and SOGI, sexual orientation and gender identity, that the ANC is pushing, the DA is pushing in the Western Cape, it is to pervert children. To destroy their minds, to teach them something that is going to harm them fundamentally, harm their lives forever, their marriages, their families, their human sexuality. It's destroying the lives of children, pushing a sexual ideology that is harmful and destructive on children, innocent children. Now, the question is, how can any Christian vote for a political party that does that openly does that, and say, we're going to do this? And you vote and you endorse that party and you say, go ahead, please do this. And here's our name and our endorsement to do that. That boggles my mind, Marie Sukers. I just don't understand how any Christian can get behind wicked people that are doing wicked things to the most innocent in our communities, and that's our children.
I think because, South Africans has been voting for the last 27 years. We've been voting on the basis of race or on the basis of history, right? If I'm colored, or a black or whatever category of race I fall in, then I vote because I will never be oppressed in the way that I was. Or I am voting because I do not believe a certain race group is competent enough to lead a country, whatever the reasons are, but we vote on the basis of race. And then we vote on the basis of history because we were free and liberated, and many of us, of our parents and our generation certainly still holds the ANC in the same regard. And we see it as the ANC of Albert Luthuli, which was Christian at the core and pursued justice and righteousness based on Christian beliefs. That ANC does not exist anymore. Yeah. And yes, they don't exist anymore.
Absolutely. I mean, nobody needs convincing of that, Marie. If you look at the corruption and the theft and the fraud and the money laundering, the ANC has stolen over R1 trillion rand of taxpayers' money and destroyed all our state-owned enterprises. And that theft and fraud continues to this day, even with President Cyril Ramaphosa's promises and the new dawn and all of that, it's still happening. In a pandemic, when we had to get personal protection equipment out to doctors and nurses and people that needed it most, the ANC used that money, stole that money. There was so much corruption surrounding that. And yet we must believe that they want to govern this country and they care about the poor. These are things they say, but in their actions, they prove they don't care about anybody in this country. Forget the poor or anybody else. The ANC governs in the interest of the ANC, and we can all see that. I mean, the evidence is all over. It's every day you see it in the media. Millions, billions stolen. I mean, there's young guys that have become multi-millionaires. They've got 12 cars and mansions out of nothing. And it's all self-enrichment while people get poorer and poorer. People are dying. Children are dying from malnutrition in this country. And yet the vast majority of people can't seem to see that, even though it's in plain sight. But Marie, I want to move on to the solution to CSE, and that is smart choices. Now, you've gone through the program, I have too, and we look at the values and what is taught through that program. And we're trying to get parents, asking parents now, please contact your child's school governing body and ask them to order smart choices, not CSE, to tell the school we're concerned with CSE and the content and the harm in it. But we've seen smart choice and believe this is the best sexual education curriculum there is, especially in light of the teen pregnancy crisis. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. And Smart Choices was supported by the ACDP. We actually put it on our website and also send it out to our constituencies to say, this is a program that we would like you to look at and for you to use that because it is aligned to the values that you hold dear. And also it enables children to make a choice regarding their sexuality that is actually sacred. It is sacred. If I look at where I come from and the education I got as a young girl coming from a broken home, smart choices is at the foundation of it, is making decisions that is based on the utmost, most important part of you. That firstly, identify that who you are in the eyes of God, identify the values that drives you as a child of God, as a committed Christian, or as somebody that grew up in a Christian home, and make your decisions based on your values. We fully endorse it, and we support programs like this because it is aligned to our faith, and it is aligned to what we believe is the best model for society, which is family is at the foundation of healthy societies.
That's right. Yeah, Marie, so would you echo my call to parents to contact their child's school governing bodies immediately before the end of October, because they're ordering their new educational programs for the new academic year in 2022. Will you echo that call, and would you, Marie Sukers, call on parents, please contact your child's school governing body and ask them to order smart choices, and remembering that CSE is not compulsory. The minister has confirmed it's not compulsory. She said you can use any other program you want as long as it's CAPS compliant, and we are happy to report that Smart Choices is CAPS compliant.
I would definitely do so. And I want to say to parents, the future of your child hinges upon the education that they receive. And it is part of our duty as parents to ensure that our children grow up into healthy, responsible adults that will live long enough to make a contribution to this world. And you need to look at sexuality education in that way. Smart Choices is a curriculum that was well researched, and I loved that. I loved what your write-up that you had, I think, a few months ago around Smart Choices. I think more than a year ago, around Smart Choices. That well researched. It is value-based, and I fully endorse that. I endorse it for my child. I ensure my child, school is aligned to that, and they are. using smart choices as a curriculum. And so I would say to parents, go out and speak and do advocacy on your child's behalf. Don't let somebody else do it. You take responsibility and stand behind kingdom curriculums like smart choices that supports your child as they grow up to make values aligned and faith aligned decisions.
Yeah, thank you, Marie. I really appreciate the work you've been doing in Parliament, promoting smart choices, exposing CSE for what it is. On the screen now, we're going to put some information about smart choices, how people watching this program, parents, educators, can contact Dr. Darlene Edwards-Meyer, the developer, South African developer of smart choices, yes, because she's been working in our educational sector for 25 years, highly qualified woman of God and committed to education. So this is such a great program. And if parents ask for this at their schools, we will make CSE redundant in this country. And that's our aim, is to promote smart choices, because we believe this is the solution to the teenage pregnancy crisis and many other issues, gender-based violence and all kinds of other things. Smart choices is the solution. So, Marie Sukers, once again, thank you so much for your time coming onto the program, talking to us. Thank you for everything you're doing, standing for righteousness and truth in Parliament. We commend you, we honor you, and we bless you, and we hope you guys are going to do well in the local government elections.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. God bless you.